So each of these are tabs where we had bat reports during the wintertime.
Acadia National Park wildlife biologist Bruce Connery created this map about a year ago, after he'd experienced an alarming winter. All season long, people on Mount Desert Island had been seeing bats, when there should have been none, because bats hibernate.
We ended up with approximately 75 reports from late November through the end of April, and over 120 bats, which is totally different than the previous 20 years, which we had no reports during that time period.
By last spring, Connery confirmed what he'd feared. The bats had white nose syndrome, a lethal fungus first spotted in the U.S. in 2006. The bats were being seen in the winter because they didn't have the fat stores or energy to fly to their winter homes, called hibernacula.
This is what a diseased, affected bat looks like. It's gaining moisture. You can see they shrivel up and they get really, they're not very big to begin with.
Connery keeps some of the dead bats in a freezer at park headquarters.
This bat probably weighs about 3 grams. If it was alive and healthy, or even if it got hit by a car, it would weigh 6 grams, maybe up to 8 grams.
So that's a healthy bat.
That's a healthy bat.
Just down the road, Ann Rivers runs the Acadia Wildlife Foundation, which takes in injured animals of all kinds. That same winter, people started bringing her more bats as well.
They'd come in, they'd be lively, they'd eat, they'd drink, and a couple hours later they'd be dead.
At first, she was confused.
When I got it, it didn't look like what had been described in the literature. They didn't have fungus around their noses. What they had is they had wings that were all dried up like a leaf, like you could just go like this and it would fall off.
But now that she knows it's white nose, she's horrified.
I love bats, and they're going to go extinct. I mean, I am just frantic about it.
This site has been a traditional roosting site, summer roosting site for bats for as long as we have information.
Last summer, Connery took me to the Abbey Museum at Sur de Mont to show me how he is using echolocation technology to monitor bat populations.
All this is it's just an antenna, and you plug it in here, and through here you can actually, by pushing this red button, we could start to record.
That's a bat.
That was a bat. So and now you can actually see it. That's the actual spectrogram of the sound.
He says recently the sensors have not been picking up very much, even when they should be.
We had used to have areas where we knew there were bats. This year we haven't found bats in those areas.
Connery and others are trying to understand the extent of white nose syndrome in Maine and have been eagerly awaiting the results of Maine's winter bat survey. Once a year, near the end of winter, biologists John Depew with the state and Dave Yates of the Biodiversity Research Institute make their way into hibernacula to count bats. This year, at the end of March, we went along. To enter the first hibernaculum, an old mine shaft in western Maine, the scientists had to chip away thick ice from the entrance.
Last year we did not go in.
The ice was too thick.
Ice was too thick. The year before we went in, and what was
That's when we found white nose.
Right, and there was significantly less bats than last time. I think on the order of a third of what we had found in previous years before white nose.
Yeah.
This hibernaculum used to have 350 to 400 bats each winter. Depew and Yates are not hopeful about what they'll find now.
I think we're only going to find a few bats, and I think that's we're likely going to find bats that are in there are likely going to have white nose spores on them.
We all put on slippery yellow Tyvek suits to protect against cross-contamination. Then enter the cave on our bellies.
Yeah! Yeah! Man! How's it look down there?
Pretty crazy.
Inside, it's a different world where ice crashes under each step. And a giant ice formation rises to an opening in the ceiling of the mine shaft.
It's really amazing, isn't it?
Just past the ice formation, the scientists spot a little brown bat. It has white nose syndrome. Then another, covered in condensation. It, too, has white nose syndrome. There are 15 little brown bats in all. 14 appear to be infected with white nose syndrome. The second cave, about 20 minutes away, is also an old mine shaft, but easier to enter, which we do in new Tyvek suits. Here, past more ice formations, the scientists find one big brown bat hibernating on the ceiling.
There's no visible signs of the white-nosed fungus, Geomyces destructans fungus on his wings or on his nose or on his ears or anywhere on him, which is a positive thing these days. It's nice to see what appears to be a healthy bat.
There's another on a wall, which also appears healthy. But that's it. John Depew says he's disappointed not to find any little brown bats or northern long ears.
For a number of years, we had somewhere around 80 to none in the past several years. That's pretty scary, and that's 100% mortality for the site.
So there's the answer. It appears Maine is losing its bat population to white nose syndrome, and biologists are worried about the impact.
So we don't really know what will come from it. I don't think we really understand the magnitude of what will happen, but we realize that anytime you tinker with the system by pulling some major component that keeps regulation in place, that you're probably, it's probably not a good situation to go to.